Well, David, thanks so much for taking time to chat with me again. Widow's Bay has such a unique identity, and your score obviously plays a huge role in bringing that world to life. So, once you came on board, what was it about the project that interested you, and how did you begin finding the musical language of Widow's Bay?
Oh my God. I mean, I was, well, thank you for having me, first of
Yeah,
all.
of course.
Uh, I was so interested in it right from the first, I think I saw the first two episodes at the same time. And it's actually really nice that now the show is out in the world and people are enjoying it, because I was a little worried that I felt it was so enjoyable in such a specific way that I was like, is this just for me? Like,
Right.
are other people going to like this?
Yeah.
But I think it really speaks to what Katie Dippold, our showrunner, and Hiro Murai, they really they had such a good barometer for what the show was. Especially Katie, I think this story has been with her for a really long time,
Mm,
and and I think in some ways, I think how specific it is what gets everyone excited about it. It
yeah.
doesn't feel like something that we've seen before, and capture some of the things that we like best about horror. And but it's so funny too. It's such a great blend.
Yeah.
So I think for me, what was really exciting about it was this perfect blend of horror and comedy, and it was also a little bit of a challenge. I mean, Katie, one of the first things she said is, this show is so specific from a tonal standpoint,
Right.
and I think she wasn't quite sure what she wanted the music to be, but she knew one thing along the way is that she always knew what she didn't want it to be.
Mm,
And my pitch and where I sort of started musically is let's not really focus on the comedy or the horror, because it could be whiplash if we're sort of letting us, having the music go back and forth and highlight the difference. I was much more of the impression that we should focus on the town itself of Widow's Bay, and what is this place? How can we make this somewhere that you want to hang out for a half an hour to an hour? And also treat it more like a mystery,
mm.
and sort of lean into the curiosity and mystery of the town, rather than, I mean, look, we do go full horror at times, and
Sure. Yeah.
it's very funny, but
Yeah.
I almost didn't want, for a long time while I was starting the show, to focus on the far edges
Sure.
of the show, and just try to define what is it that makes this town special, because the story and the feel of the show is so special. So I wanted the music to kind of be inextricable from that.
Yeah, and I mean, it is. It's one of the best shows I've seen in such a long time. It is something I look forward to every week. I'm so sad that it's coming to an end already. But I did
Two more
hear.
episodes.
No,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
did hear that, there might be a season two looming. That would be amazing, because I feel like there's no way that everything's going to be wrapped up in two episodes. There's so much to explore, like you said, in this really cool town that it's just so great. But building that atmosphere, right? Were there any particular instruments, textures, techniques that became essential to the sound of the series?
Well, yeah, a lot. It was again, for me, with finding a palette, there were some things that I knew I wanted. I knew I wanted a lot of woodwinds. There's something
Mm-hmm.
about it that kind of said New England to me. I didn't try to think too literally about the place or the period. It was just about kind of a feel of this place. There's something mysterious about it. So woodwinds were always going to be a thing. Vocals emerged really early on. I had this idea about kind of sound of a foghorn, but with a stack of these sort of ghostly female vocals that my
Yeah.
wife Monica performed. Also, I liked this idea of these close strings, something
Mm,
that was. I like the idea that you could feel like wood and just the materials of this place. There are lots of synthetic elements and processed elements, but I always wanted it to feel very organic
yeah.
and um, and of the setting in a way.
Yeah, it does. And One piece that really stood out to me, I mean, classically trained girl, you never forget the time that you played Moonlight Sonata for the first time on the piano
Right.
at a recital.
Yeah.
And so when I heard it, I was thrown right back there. But I know that the sonata in a different way in your like reworked version of it exists alone as Moonlight, but it also is woven into what I think is one of the most memorable cues from the score, the Stone Room as well, like right at the end. Can you talk about the decision to revisit such a recognizable piece and transform it into something that really feels uniquely Widow's Bay?
Yeah, that was something that kind of happened early, and I got excited by the idea. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I was saying that I don't know if I it's like as I get older, I get more bored or ADHD, but I have this feeling of like when I'm making a musical decision and I feel like I'm doing something that's like a little bit like that I could get in trouble for somehow. You know, like you know, I also practiced classical piano growing up, and you're taught to revere the canon, and I do, and Beethoven may be my favorite composer.
Yeah.
But there was something that felt kind of appropriate for the show, which kind of lovingly remixes all these old tropes of mystery and horror and spooky shows and films
Yeah.
in a way that's not a parody, but is an homage and makes something new. And I thought there was something appropriate about taking that piece, which has this kind of beautiful, haunting quality, and reinterpreting it, messing with it. It's. I hope it's not sacrilegious, but I do it because I love that piece, and because there's something, and I think there's something about it that's like every piano student has played it, and there is something spooky about it, but charming and beautiful. And I think Widow's Bay sort of encompasses a lot of that.
Yeah.
So it really opened the door for me on what the score could be and should be, and it's, you know, it's got a cheekiness to it, I think, while still trying to do its own thing. So I don't know that I understood it while I was doing it, other than it felt fun and got me very excited, and thankfully it got Katie and Hero excited too. And I tried it a couple more times in the show, and it didn't work. I did it once more in the finale.
Okay.
Which I won't spoil
Sure.
anything from a show perspective, but I tried to do a similar thing with Dance Macabre.
Oh my God, one of my favorites of all time. Yes.
I love it too, but
It's
Katie, just to speak really, again, just to underline how good her barometer is, she was just like, it taps into something about, I'm going to interpret what she said as like whimsical horror, that I am on that this is Katie speaking, that I am on the side of, but it tips too far into whimsy. She was so dead on with those kinds of things. And you know what? She turned out to be completely right. And the piece that replaced it is the last piece on the soundtrack, which is actually one of my favorites. So I'm so glad that she checked me on that and was like, we've done this once. We don't need to do it again.
Right. And I actually haven't listened to, I stopped at the Boogeyman because I'm one of those people. Like I wanted to just wait to hear the whole score until everything had come out, but I stopped right at the Boogeyman, and I wanted to just give myself a chance to feel it. When scores come out for movies before the movie comes out, or a soundtrack, I'm like, no, I can't do it. I have to wait to see it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, good. I'm glad it's in relative chronological order then. So
it is. And I think, what you said about Moonlight Sonata 2 is so good, because it is also just ancient. Like, it feels that way, you know, a lot of the time. And because it's also it's foundational, it's ancient, it's all these different things in music and in like what we learn when we're studying music. And I think that translates, like you said, so well to what this story is, and what the history of the town, and what, you know, we're learning about the town is also very ancient, foundational, all these different things. So I think it translated really well, and I loved it. I loved just like sitting up in my seat and being like, oh, I know that. Was there a particular scene or episode that proved, especially challenging to score, or even a cue that, you're really proud of and excited for audiences to hear? I know you mentioned the very last cue as well.
Yeah, I love that. That last cue was like kind of like dessert for me
Oh, I
on
can't
the
wait.
on the show, and it was and in a way,
Yeah.
the first version of it not being right was helped me find something.
Yeah.
But I will say, to answer your question, I think episode 6
Okay. Yeah.
was the biggest challenge, and it was like a challenge I was really excited about, which was, Ty West had directed this period piece episode. People, like, I think incorrectly call it a bottle episode. I can't remember, there's a better term for it, but
Yeah.
it's like a mini movie in the
Okay,
middle of
yeah.
the show. And I knew I wanted it to have its own sound, and I wanted, a lot of the show, the score has sort of what's usually typical of the scores that I do is there's a production element to it. In the world, the sonic world is layered, and there's synthetic elements,
Yeah.
and some of it's right in front of you, very tactile, and some of it is washy, but I wanted that episode to have a more truly acoustic feel, where it could be of the era. We recorded viola da gamba and baroque cello. These are these instruments that would have been at that era. And I kind of challenged myself to make it something that was more soloistic and more sounds like in a room, and it restricted me in some ways, and then strangely opened up the rest of the season, where motifs that I created in that episode that sort of centered around the curse I ended up developing further. Even little sort of sounds like we recorded conch shell, because we were thinking of okay, in addition to sort of period specific instruments, what is something that would be in a seaside town? What is something, because even that episode that takes place in the early 1700s, it alludes to something much more ancient on the island. So Katie got really excited by this idea that the conch shell would be this warning, and we actually ended up going and throwing it into a couple scenes in the first 2 episodes that were not, the ink hadn't quite dried. So it was kind of the middle of scoring for me, but it really kind of three-dimensionalized a lot of what I was yet to do, and also maybe contextualizing what I wanted to do. I mean, at a certain point, when you were asking about, hey, how did you start the music? I knew that there was this period episode, and I was like, should all the music be like that? But ultimately, we decided no, it needed to be this sort of mix of modern and classic sounds. But it was really, it was kind of a huge musical adventure to record something that sounded like that and try to go period, at least in a Widow's Bay way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's so unique. I think it was even before watching the show, I heard Stone Room in, I don't know, it was like on Instagram, probably part of a reel for the show. And I was like, when I looked into it and I saw that it was a show and it was on Apple TV, and it was like all the different things that I love. The mix of, it's kind of Jaws, it's kind of Parks and Rec, Scooby-Doo, whatever, like all different things all together, but still at the same time completely unique. Episode 8 was probably one of my favorites. I know that in TV and obviously in film too, we often have to strike a very careful balance of the original score versus pre-existing or like diegetic music within episodes or in film. Toko Nagata is the music supervisor, right? Was she the one who picked Enya's Caribbean Blue to be playing in that episode? Because it is a monumental moment.
So Toko has some of the best placements in this whole series. I think she is amazingly talented, and I'm so glad so much of the music supervision has been noticed. I have to say, I have to give credit to my wife Monica on this. I think Toko already had placed it in the episode as something that was in the background while Patricia was at home.
Yeah.
And we were having a music meeting, and first of all, that song is my wife truly loves Enya, and that's one of her favorite songs. So she got excited when she heard that in the background.
Yep.
And we were spotting the episode, and the montage where Patricia has the gun on the boogeyman and everything was going to be a score cue.
Really?
That was supposed to be a score cue.
Okay.
And I think we were talking about what it could possibly be, and Monica was in the spotting meeting, and she was like, you should just bring Enya back for that. And we were sort of all laughed, and then I was like, should we try it? And we put it up against picture, and it was so funny and so great. And so that one specifically, I have to say, the idea was from the music team, but more specifically from my wife, who's a genius.
Oh
but
my God.
Toko, but that's not to take anything away from Toko,
yeah.
because the needle drops in this show are incredible. And I think the score, the way the score and the songs work in tandem is I'm glad other people are enjoying it. Yeah.
It does. It works. So that was gonna be one of my questions. You know, how you guys as a team work together to kind of strike that balance and to make sure that it all works. And I mean, it does. And I remember in episode 8 too, your score is so slasher. It's so 80s. But it still feels like the exact same Widows based score we've been getting, but with little bits and bobs that make it feel of the episode, which was so fun to just hear something different, you know?
Yeah, we talked about that episode because it's the one episode that's a little closest. It's not parody, but it's it's verging on like really leaning into those tropes.
Yeah.
And it's still of the story and everything, but we did talk a lot with Katie. The original Halloween is maybe my favorite horror movie of all time. Yeah. And I will say there's like one little musical kind of nod to it, which there's one percussion sound that's from like a Fairlight synthesizer, which is like of the era. I'm not saying it's the sound that John Carpenter would have used, but it's in that style. Yeah. And his score for Halloween is one of my favorite so scores, good. Not just horror scores. So but we did talk a lot with Katie about, we were having so much fun, and she was always a good barrier for this. Is this a bridge too far? Or like, when are we still within our story, and when are we too wink? Sure. And it was always good to kind of find the balance there. Yeah, and it still felt that way. You know, I didn't feel hokey or anything. I feel like even adding Caribbean Blue at the end, it was just like when it starts to swell, and you know that it's like, oh my gosh, here we go. Are you kidding me right now? Yes. It just is so perfect. It's the perfect callback. Like, it's her song. It was just the best, truly. Yeah. I'm very happy it all came together in the end. And also, I got to say, our editors on this show, Kyle, Isaac, Jen, they make it really easy to have music just fit and elevate things. It's it's a great team, everyone on this show. Yeah. And I have just one question about your process, because I know every composer approaches different projects differently. I know for myself, like, every day can be different. It could be, you know, jumping on the piano. It can be a melody that I come up with vocally, just opening up my favorite DAW, which is Logic, and just like playing around there. So for this project, what was your process like, the creative process for getting those ideas out? I have a very, I always have an elegant plan that gets scrapped at some point. But I tend to like to build pieces up with lots and lots of layers, and then carve away. And I also work with great musicians and sound designers, and I love bouncing things back and forth with people I trust. And so it's an ongoing process. And every time I finish a movie, I wish I could start the movie again because I've learned so much through the process. Like
Yeah.
whatever I thought it was going to be at the beginning isn't what it ends up as.
Yeah.
And with this show, I was just like, can we do a season 2 now? Because I know how to do the show and I
Yeah.
know the edges of it. So I think there are composers who are very good about like this, putting the blueprint, and that's going to be the plan. For me, the process is way more as it unfolds, I kind of find out what it is.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, after spending so much time creating the musical world of Widow's Bay, what do you hope audiences will feel or, take away from the score when they experience it alongside the story?
I hope it feels like a world, I hope it feels like, I think the thing about the town of Widow's Bay is that even though there's so much darkness lurking under the surface, I think the charm of the place just makes you want to keep revisiting it. It's not a place there's scary things, but you're not afraid to go there. You want to revisit, you want to spend time there. And I want the music to kind of be the same thing, that it creates a world for you, and that you want to visit it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time to chat with me. This was amazing and truly a dream come true for me because I was able to geek out. Thanks so much again for chatting with me, and I'm looking forward to see what you do next.
Thanks, Emily. I appreciate it.